Wednesday, November 9th, 2022, Maneco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. Today, we're going to look at how a BRICS monetary architecture, monetary system, some people say there will be a BRICS currency, but I think it's going to be more like a standard. Some kind of currency standard, and I think it will be a gold standard, and that's what we're going to talk about. I think BRICS is not just Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. It's growing, and even the mainstream media in the US is noticing that. So we're going to look at that today, and some interesting developments pertaining to Saudi Arabia. Before I start, though, I like to cover a couple of topics very quickly. Here in the UK, we're seeing food prices reach a 14-year high in October. This is the FT reporting. And it says here, inflation could add £682 to Britain's annual grocery bill, with further increases expected, shows Kantar study. So, as I've said before, we're probably going to see house prices drop. We're seeing stocks and bonds drop. All the financial assets, or in the case of housing, it's more related to the mortgage world. They're losing value, but the basic necessities are going to keep going up. And why is that? Well, because of currency debasement and the fact that we've based our economy on borrowing and spending, and we don't really have a balanced economy of production and consumption. It's all services, consumption, and borrowing. The other news I like to cover is that I'm seeing here that publications, globalist publications like the FT are reporting that the red wave has collapsed, while InfoWars says that there's a steal on. So quite interesting what's going on in the US. We'll have to wait and see about the election, the midterm election. And as you know, I don't really cover politics too much, but it is what it is. What else is going on? Well, Bank of England. Yesterday, the chief economist of the Bank of England came out and he said maybe QE had to do something with inflation. But look at this. I thought it was outrageous. He says Bank of England blames early retirement for surging inflation. I mean, these people are really, I'm not surprised. I have no respect for central bankers anyway. They blame everyone and everything but themselves. I thought it was Putin and the COVID that was the cause for inflation. Now it's pensioners. While we've been told for the last 20 years that the reason Japan has deflation is because of too many retirees over there, but here it's the opposite. It makes no sense whatsoever. And why did I say deflation like this for Japan? Well, because Japan has been inflating. Their currency has been collapsing, not just versus the dollar, but especially versus real money, gold. So this is another central banker here, the chief economist, Hugh Pill is his name. And it just goes to show you that you need protection from this, because they're going to keep inflating because they're in denial. And that's why I've been stacking for 20 years gold and silver. And many of you, of course, ask me where can I buy gold and silver, and that's why I have some affiliates which I highly recommend. Two of them, of course, are in the States, ITM Trading. You can contact ITM Trading for a consultation. Details are below in the description. And also in North America, I have an affiliation with Miles Franklin. You can email them or call them, info@milesfranklin.com. Tell them that Monaco64 sent you there. And in the UK, of course, Gold Investments, referral code there or promo code is Monaco64. And I also have an affiliation with GlintPay, which is a different kind of gold company. It allows you to buy gold, store it safely in Switzerland, and have a MasterCard, prepaid MasterCard, which allows you not just to spend your gold, but also keep your money in different currencies. So, yeah, thank you for the viewers that have been using my affiliates. It helps the channel. The channel is growing, and it's going to grow a lot more. There are a few things I'm working on that I'll touch upon probably in a week or two. Some interesting developments that I'm looking to bring forward to the channel. It won't change the character of the channel. Don't worry, I'll be making my daily videos. So I saw a tweet yesterday from at Gold Telegraph. If you're on Twitter, I recommend you follow them at Gold Telegraph _. It says Russia says that at least a dozen countries are interested in joining BRICS. This bloc is a commodity powerhouse. All these countries will move away from the US dollar for trade. The world is changing, and these are the type of events that are remembered throughout history. I agree with that comment about the world is changing from Gold Telegraph. I've been covering the petrodollar since 2016. One of my most viewed videos is about the demise of the petrodollar. I did say that it was going to be like turning a super tanker around. It wasn't going to be overnight, because the countries that are challenging the petrodollar, like the BRICS, Brazil, Russia, China, India, South Africa, they have to build an infrastructure to make this possible. And Russia and China especially have been doing that. For example, China has built exchanges to trade oil, gold, and other commodities in yuan in Shanghai. The Russians have, and they've together, the Russians and the Chinese, they've developed payment systems opposite of SWIFT, for example, and many other things. You've had bilateral agreements between China, Russia, and other countries around the world to trade in their own currencies. And June this year, President Putin made a speech in St. Petersburg saying that the Western system is based on mythical values. And we all know it is. Ever since 1971, the system has become more and more based on funny money. And yes, and they've also admitted that they're going to have their own BRICS currency, or I would say they've learned from the dollar system since 1944 that it's probably best not to have one single currency be the major single currency, but trade in every country's currency. But how do you discipline every country not to inflate? Well, you make it a condition that they have gold reserves. And it's one of the reasons why I think a lot of the global South countries have been buying so much gold, because they've been told, if you want to be part of this BRICS system, your currency will have to be backed by gold. So, I don't think some people like Pozar, the guy from Credit Suisse, think it's going to be a commodity-backed currency. I don't think so, because normal commodities are consumed. They're not money. The only commodity that is money is gold. It's monetary because it's not consumed. You can't consume the money that you're using, the currency, the asset that is backing all the currencies. If you consume it and you have volatility in that commodity, it doesn't work well as money. Silver is a little bit of a hybrid, of course. It will be very important as well, I think. So that's what I see. And yes, the BRICS countries have learned that to have just one currency, like the dollar, will give one country, maybe China, an exorbitant privilege. And I don't think they want that. So I think, for example, if Brazil wants to trade with Indonesia, they will use their currencies, and their currencies will have gold backing. Will we go back to a gold standard? Maybe. I don't know. Maybe they will have a meeting one day around the table and decide. And if you don't have gold, you won't be sitting around that table. And does that mean the dollar's finished? No, because the same thing happened to the British pound. The British pound was the major reserve currency. And with Bretton Woods in 1944, it became a secondary currency. And it's still relatively widely held, the British pound, believe it or not, nowadays. But all it will mean is that there will be less demand, not just for the dollar, but I also think a lot of the Western currencies. And when there's less demand for those currencies, the value of those currencies go down, interest rates go up, because the BRICS countries and the other countries that are going to join them are not going to need to hold as many dollars or treasuries. And I think we're already seeing that. And it's not going to happen next week or next month. It's as I've said, it's a slow process, but I think we're getting very near a point where things accelerate. And I'm going to cover here now as well news about Xi Jinping, the president of China, and MBS, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia. I'm also going to cover Newsweek magazine. They talk about that, because I think it's very important what's going on here. And before I talk about those two things, I had something to tell you that I almost forgot. I recommend that you watch a video by the Duran. If you haven't subscribed to them, you should. They're more into geopolitics, but geopolitics and economics are related. And they did a video yesterday, MBS and BRICS, the most dangerous pivot in history. That's another thing that you need to keep in mind. I don't think America is going to take this lying down. What this means is a lot of chaos maybe in the next year or so. And listen to them. They'll tell you more about that. I'll put a link up in the description. Below in the description, and the link up in the cards. So, yes, Xi Jinping, the president of China, I think he's only traveled outside China once since the pandemic, and it was this summer. He went for a summit. I think it was in Uzbekistan, for the Eurasian Summit or Economic Summit. And now he's going to Saudi Arabia, I think in December, to meet Mohammed bin Salman, or MBS. And that's very significant, because there has been talk that Saudi Arabia wants to join the BRICS. And I think that's very... it will make the move away from the petrodollar, even something more of a reality. And I think Saudi Arabia will probably start dealing with China in yuan or reals for their trade. They will ignore the dollar. Doesn't mean that the dollar won't be traded still in the world, and that you won't be able to buy oil in dollars, but I think it will be less and less important. And this Newsweek article, this is from the 7th of November, so it's quite recent. It says Brazil Russia, India, China, South Africa, BRICS bloc grows with US left out. Well, the US is left out because the US likes to dominate everything. They don't want to deal as equal to other countries. And the thing is, we've been telling you about this for many years. I've got a video even from 2017 where I talked about that because RT was telling us the BRICS protocol is set to challenge the petrodollar. And they were talking already Russia, China, real gold standard means end of US dollar dominance. So I'm going to put that video up in the cards in the description. We spoke about the petrodollar in June this year. Putin leading BRICS nations into a gold standard. And that's what I believe will happen. A lot of people say, oh, these countries are third world countries, emerging markets, but no, they're very wealthy countries resource wise, and I think it's highly significant, and they're growing. And the more they grow, the more other countries will want to join. I'm going to put a link to the Newsweek article below in the description. It talks about how Algeria, who's a huge natural gas producer, wants to join BRICS. And even here it says the Wall Street Journal then reported this Sunday, that Chinese President Xi Jinping was preparing to visit Saudi Arabia before the end of the year, citing people said to be familiar with preparations for the trip. The move, which would mark one of just several instances of foreign travel for Xi since the COVID-19 pandemic gripped the world in 2020, was set to take place against a backdrop of Beijing and Riyadh striving for a more multipolar world order. So there you go. And that's unfortunately why the United States, not the American people, but the people in charge of, the Washington establishment, they're gonna make it hard. They don't want to see this. Instead of maybe joining the BRICS, they're probably gonna try to create chaos so that this doesn't happen. And again, I recommend the Duran. So they have a much better view on the geopolitical side than I do. So with that, let's quickly look at where the markets are this morning. So it's 8:20 a.m. London time. So very interesting day for gold and silver yesterday. I tweeted fiat currencies all dropping sharply versus gold because that's what's happening. Gold and silver remain the same thing through millennia. An ounce of gold is an ounce of gold, so is an ounce of silver. It's a matter of purchasing power. But be as it may, we've broken some very key technical levels in terms of the fiat price. For the dollar, I think that was around 1680 and especially 1700. And for silver, it was just above 21 because as you can see from this longer term chart, it was an important high some years ago and we needed to get back above that. Yes, things can change around. We could see gold and silver drop back, but I think it looks good right now. So let's start with gold and silver. Spot gold right now is up $3 at $17.15. The high has been $17.16, the low $17.06. Silver is up 20 cents, trading at $21.54. High's been 57, the low has been 21.22. In terms of the stock markets, the Dow futures is down 11. The NASDAQ 100 futures up 30 points. S&P is up 2 points. So stock market fairly quiet right now. To the currencies, we've got sterling up about 0.2 at 1.1559. The euro is unchanged, just above 1. The dollar is down 0.2 versus the yen at 145.37. Dollar is down 0.2 versus the Swiss franc, 98.35. And the dollar is up slightly versus the yuan at 723.90. The dollar is at 60, around trading around 61 versus the ruble. So up slightly here, up about 1%. It dropped to a low of 59.50 overnight. So a little bit of volatility there. To the other currencies, we got the Aussie dollar up 0.1%, 65.14. The dollar is down slightly versus the Canadian dollar, 134.20. And the Kiwi dollar is unchanged at 59.50. To the general commodities, WTI crude is down 0.5%, 87.60. Brent is down 1/3, 94.38. High-grade copper is down 0.4 at 366. US nat gas is up 1% at 635. Check the Dutch nat gas futures. That's down about 1.4%, trading at 116. We'll finish off with the bond market. We'll look at the gilt market. The 10-year gilt yield is up 1 basis point at 355, and the 30-year is up 3 at 377. US 10-year yield is down just over 1 basis point at 411, so we've come off a little bit here. And the 2-year as well is down 2.5 basis points at 465. Maybe gold and silver and the bond market are sniffing some kind of move by the Fed towards a less hawkish policy. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit the like button. Please share it far and wide. Think about subscribing to my channel if you haven't yet. And with that, I wish you all a great day. Take care. Bye.